Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Rudd, President and CEO of the Asian Society. Welcome to this series of conversations with Asian Americans, Building America. We call it ABBA. We're talking with people from all over this great country, all of whom are making a positive impact for Asian Americans, but also helping build America on the way through. Today, we're joined by Madeline Park, the founder of Cafe Maddy Cab, which helps pay cab fares for Asian Americans fearful of taking the subway. She joins us today from Brooklyn in New York. I understand you're 28 years old, Maddie. You're a dentist and you have a cooking blog. Is that right? Is that the aggregation of your professional skills?
Yes, it exactly is. I like to call dentistry my day job, and then cooking is my night job or my morning job.
Where did you study your dentistry, by the way?
In New York. I've been in New York for 10 years now from school.
Good, that's fantastic. With dentists like you, it'll make me less fearful of going to the dentist, so that's terrific. So now, Maddie, how'd you come up with this idea to provide safe transport for Asian Americans in fear of violence, or perhaps people of Asian origin simply visiting New York? Tell us how it works, how you fund it, and again, the genesis of the idea. Over to you.
So everything came from my personal experience. Like everybody else, in March, we were all staying home, watching the terrible things that were going on the news. And it had been a while since I've taken the subway at that point, but in early April or March, I had gotten a new job where I had to commute into the office once a week. And when I started doing that, I didn't expect myself to feel so fearful in the subway because of the media that I've been seeing in the news. So when I experienced it firsthand, that's when it really struck me that something has to be done. So I talked to some of my friends. I realized all of my Asian friends were feeling the same way in the subway. They were really avoiding taking the train or whatnot. So I just had an idea. Listen, I have a food blog that has a following. I know a good chunk lives in New York. And maybe I could help some of these people with my own funds. So it was really intended to just Venmo or hand out cab fares to individuals with my own $2,000 that I set aside for this initiative. But when I posted about it, I think a lot of people recognize the need for a citywide service or a nationwide service like this. And then that's when the donations started flooding in.
Wow. That's terrific. I mean, what I've got here in my notes is that you were able to raise fairly quickly about $100,000 in donations for a couple of days. And that as of April this year, you'd helped fund some 1,100 requests for basically helping people to get around New York. Is that right?
Yes, I think to date, I have the numbers here. From April to July, it was 7,841 rides that we were able to provide for people.
Wow, that's terrific. And so how does it work? Do people contact your website? Do you have a deal with the Uber companies, Uber drivers, or with the New York taxi service, or how does it work?
So as of now, we have closed submissions and closed the donations for now because we have depleted all the funds. And New York City, as of now, the crime rates have improved significantly with the vaccinations coming through. But how it worked the past couple of months is that people were donating and there was a donation portal and there was also a submission portal where people could submit their rides. As in they would take taxi rides and then take a screenshot of their receipt and it will have the proof of date, the route that it was within New York City, and they would submit all these rides. And my team of volunteers will go over all these submissions and approve them. And we were working with a tech company that would review all the approved requests and then send out all the funds individually to their bank accounts.
But basically, yes, a team of volunteers processing people's individual receipts for rides.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
I
terrific.
could not have done this without my team at all. Yeah. I didn't know it was going to blow up to this extent, but it was really, really, I was thankful for all the help that came in.
So tell me, you spoke before about the reports of threats to physical safety, racial slurs, etc., on the subway as basically the coronavirus thing erupted. Have you experienced any of that yourself?
To be honest with you, directly, not really. In New York, one thing I realized is that I always have my noise canceling headphones on. So even if I did hear it, I wouldn't have heard it. But one thing that shocked me when I was reading all these submissions, because we asked people to tell their story as well, so many people have been physically, verbally harassed. And a lot of people were simply unable to take another subway ride because of what they have directly experienced.
So people being verbally abusive, physically abusive, is this the sort of reports you're getting back from your people subscribing to your service?
Yes.
That's pretty disturbing, particularly in a metropolitan city like New York. Tell me, Maddie, Cafe Maddy specifically reaches out to Asian women seniors and the LGBTQ community. Why is that?
Again, it came from my personal experience as an Asian woman. It started with, if you're an Asian woman, I'll pay for your cab, because I identified as one. And then as it became more of an organization and a lot of people chimed in how I should increase the inclusivity, I realized, oh, there is a need for the vulnerable population in general in New York, especially because the elderly were targeted.
So elderly Asian Americans of either gender and LGBTQ people as well, is that right?
Yes. Because historically, LGBTQ has been discriminated and been the vulnerable part of the community as well.
That's good. Tell me, give us a bit of an insight into some of the thank you notes you've got back from people. How do people respond to, frankly, this act of unilateral kindness?
We got so many messages of thanks, and it was really something that kept us going. The volunteers, us, even through the hurdles that we had to get through as a very quickly put together organization. And some of it was a lot of people trying to take their grandparents to their medical appointments, or a lot of things that broke my heart were people with medical issues who are fearful of going to their medical appointments. They're really, really thankful that they had this option. And I think the general consensus was that, oh, I only used it a few times, but the fact that this existed was such a sigh of relief. And I heard a lot of people say that, oh, this really gave me hope in humanity, because I can't believe so many people came through to help and donate to raise so much money.
Yeah, well, certainly out there in the community, there are a bunch of bad people, and there's a truckload of good people. And I think it affirms our sense of humanity when we start seeing good stuff like this being done. Tell us more about you. You're Korean American. How'd your family get to America, and what's your own family story?
So I was born and raised in Korea. Never thought I'd be living in New York like this before I came to the States, but my sister had a dream of going to university here. So my parents, we made plans to just move all together. So when I was a teenager, we picked up and left, and I landed here. And
wow.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Seoul, Busan, or whereabouts were you from?
I'm from Seoul.
Okay, you're not from Gangnam, are you?
We did live in Gangnam for a little bit. Are you referring to the song?
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Gangnam Style, so there you go. But I understand also the irony of what it refers to in that part of Seoul. I've been to Seoul many times myself, so So I get it. I get the inside joke as well about Gangnam. So anyway, your family got here. How long ago did they get here?
We've been here, I think this is the 14th year that we've been here.
Okay, that's good. Tell me, this not-for-profit you've set up, Cafe Maddy Cabs, has it changed you in any way?
Absolutely. It was
Tell me about that.
really life-changing. I really never saw myself as a leader or someone like who could organize something like this. But I realized if I could do it, a lot of people can do it as well. And in the future, when opportunity rises where I have to step up, I probably wouldn't hesitate as much as I did. So I think it just set a huge precedent for me to move forward and find something else too.
It's quite interesting when you say you never saw yourself as a leader. Often when I speak to university groups around the United States, I normally live and work in America. I'm asked often about this leadership question, given some of the crazy jobs I've done in Australia in the past, including being this country's prime minister. And I usually say leadership is not a feeling. It's like courage is not a feeling. Leadership and courage is just a decision to act. And once you've acted, you'd be surprised at then what unfolds in front of you. It's remarkable. And your story is so remarkable because it brings people from mainstream jobs in the community, fixing up people's teeth, to looking at a practical problem that you discover in day-to-day life as an Asian American woman and say, here's something we can do. And then you take the first step and bang, all these doors open. It's kind of fascinating. As I said, it's taking the first step. It's a decision. It's not a feeling of being courageous or feeling as if you're born to lead and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm.
It's true. I think there was a very specific moment I told myself I'm going to take a leap of faith, even if everything crumbles. I might have to refund everyone's donation, but and it went from there.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to think that you need perfect certainty in making that first choice. You never will. Life's a continuing risk, and you either choose to be totally risk averse and nothing happens, or you go out there and you lead. And most of the time, folks will start following you if it's a good idea and it's based on integrity. And sometimes it's a pretty lonely experience. But you just dust yourself off and try again next time. But it seems that that you're doing pretty well so far. So what's the future of Cafe Maddy Cabs? Because you just said you called a halt to donations because the virus is getting better. Have you thought about how you could evolve this charitable business into the future?
To be honest, I think even when I was starting, the vision was for this to be temporary. We were all hoping, okay, this crime or hate sentiment situation better be a temporary thing. It was hard to gauge how long it will last. And still, it's hard to gauge how people are feeling about being outside. But since really we were reaching an end because we had distributed all the funds, I think the actual initiative itself, Cafe Maddy Cab, will come to a close for now. But I'm pretty sure with the connections and networks that we've created through this, if anything else comes up, we'll be able to rally the same people who would be willing to put together a good effort together.
That's pretty cool. I mean, what you're saying effectively is that you're a not-for-profit pop-up, and you've seen a need, you've gone for it, and need at least temporarily addressed while keeping your powder dry for the next one. Is that right?
Yes, I had to eventually go back to my normal life.
Well, you know this, Maddie, that once you've stepped out into that wide world of, let's call it, philanthropic entrepreneurialism. There's no going back. You'll start to see all sorts of other opportunities to go out there and help as well. Final question for you is, what gives you most hope based on your experience over the last 12 months? What gives you the most hope about the future of, let's call it, race relations in America? The most hope?
I think what happened when I started seeing the donations flood in, this was something that I think only I got to see because it was my Venmo account, and I got to see those little thumbnails of what people look like as they were donating, what they were saying as they were donating. It was people of all races and from all across the country, some people donating from out of the country. And honestly, that kind of really gave me a deep sense of hope and helped me move forward, because I realized, in the media, we might see the very small cases of hate, but there are a lot of good people out there who, when given the opportunity to help, they were wishing good for people. So it's more really like it was more like a human to human help for a basic need, rather than Black to brown to Asian or anything like that. So that gives me hope.
That's good. So as you look through the list of people coming in, these were not just Asian Americans donating. These were African Americans, Latinos, white Americans as well, recognizing that something needed to be done. Let's goes back to our point earlier. There are some bad folks out there, but there is a bucket load of really good folks as well. And our job in public life is to encourage the better angels of our human nature, including the angels themselves who do the right thing. And you're one of them. Maddie Park, thank you so much for being with us today. We appreciate your entrepreneurship with the launch of Cafe Maddy Cab and all the safe journeys you've enabled all those folks to enjoy as a result of this enterprise. And for those wishing to support this initiative, notwithstanding what Maddie has just said, have a look at Cafe Maddy Cab's Instagram account. I'm Kevin Rudd with the Asia Society. Thank you for joining us.